Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be exploring, the world of pediatric psychology in schools.
Ooh.
And it's something that's becoming more and more, you know, uh, important as healthcare changes.
Yeah.
And especially for children with chronic illnesses.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of dive deep into how schools are adapting to support these students.
Right.
And so we've got a ton of research, a lot of expert insights.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of go through it all.
Excellent.
And we're going to uncover some of the challenges these kids face, the strategies that are being used to help them thrive, and how these lines between healthcare and education are kind of blurring to create a more holistic support system for these kids.
Yeah. What's really fascinating to me is that kids who once might not have survived very serious illnesses
Right.
are now returning to school thanks to medical advancements.
Yeah.
And that brings about a whole new set of considerations for their education and well-being.
It's almost like a whole new chapter's beginning.
It is.
For these kids, and schools are having to kind of, adapt to this new reality.
Yeah.
So how are they doing that? How are they rising to the occasion?
We're seeing a huge surge in interdisciplinary collaboration.
Okay.
So pediatric psychologists, school psychologists, educators, and families are all working together more and more. And they're breaking down those traditional silos to support these students.
I see.
And it's not just about treating the illness anymore.
Right.
It's about supporting the whole child.
That makes a lot of sense because a child's health impacts every single part of their life,
Absolutely.
including their education, of course.
Right.
So what are some of the specific academic and social challenges these students face? Because I imagine it's not always a smooth transition back to the classroom.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Right.
One of the biggest hurdles is school absenteeism.
Okay.
They have frequent medical appointments,
Right.
hospitalizations that lead to significant disruptions in their education.
Yeah.
And then it makes it difficult to keep up with their peers. Yeah.
And it's not just about missing the academic content. It's also the social development.
Oh,
We
right.
can end up feeling isolated.
Yeah, it's like a double whammy.
Yeah.
You're struggling to stay on track academically, and then at the same time, you're feeling disconnected
Yeah.
from your peers. So it must really impact their self-esteem.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Children with chronic illnesses, they are more prone to internalizing disorders
Okay.
like anxiety, depression.
Makes sense.
Their self-image might be affected.
Right.
And they might experience feelings of being different from their peers.
Yeah.
And it's not just the illness itself. Even the side effects of some medications can impact their learning and their behavior.
Wow. That's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
It's clear that we need to really look beyond the surface
Yes.
and address, not just the academic progress, but the emotional and social well-being of these students.
Absolutely.
So how are schools actually, stepping up to provide the support that they need?
Are we talking specialized programs, tailored interventions? What are they doing?
Absolutely. So schools are implementing a variety of different strategies.
Yeah.
And one of the most important resources is special education services under IDE,
Oh,
the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act.
got it.
And this ensures that each student receives an IEP,
Okay.
an individualized education plan
Right.
that's tailored to their unique needs.
So the IEP is kind of like their roadmap
Yes.
that guides their educational journey and makes sure they have the tools to succeed.
Exactly. It outlines the specific support and accommodations that a student might need, from accessible classrooms for those with physical disabilities to modified assignments for students with learning differences.
Got it.
And the goal is to level the playing field and empower these students to reach their full potential.
That's crucial because it's about, providing that framework for success, not just throwing them back into
exactly.
the deep end and hoping to the best.
Right.
But what about the social and emotional aspects? How are schools addressing those less tangible but equally important needs?
Well, one of the most effective strategies is school reintegration programs.
Okay.
And these programs go beyond simply placing a student back in their classroom.
Right.
They actively work to create a supportive environment that addresses the social, emotional, and academic challenges that these students might face.
I'm picturing things like peer mentorship programs, where a student returning after a long absence
Yes.
is paired up with a classmate
Absolutely.
to help them navigate the social scene, catch up on missed work.
You're spot on.
Okay.
It's all about easing that transition and fostering that sense of belonging from day one.
Right.
And these programs often involve educating classmates and teachers about the student's condition to help dispel any myths or fears.
Yeah.
And it's about building bridges and creating a community of support.
So it sounds like it's not just about reintegrating the student academically, but also socially.
Precisely, it's about helping them reconnect with their lives, regain a sense of normalcy, and feel like they truly belong in the school community.
Yeah. And it's not always just about the one-on-one support sometimes.
Right.
We need to address some broader
Yes.
behavioral challenges that might arise.
Absolutely.
So beyond the individual support,
Yeah.
what kind of strategies are used for these behavioral interventions?
There's a range of techniques that can be very effective.
Okay.
And choosing the right one depends on the specific challenge in the individual child.
Right.
For example, token reinforcement can be really effective,
Okay.
but it needs to be carefully designed. It's not just about handing out stickers.
Right.
We need to choose rewards that are genuinely motivating for that child. And the system needs to be consistent
Right.
so that it avoids creating more problems.
It's about understanding the child's individual needs
Exactly.
and tailoring the intervention accordingly.
Yes.
What about some of the other techniques? I've heard of timeout procedures, functional behavior assessments.
Right.
I'm not really sure how those work.
Well, timeout can be a useful tool
Okay.
when a child is misbehaving. It's about removing them from a situation where they're struggling,
Correct.
giving them a chance to calm down and regain control.
I see.
And it's not just about punishment.
Okay.
It's about creating a space for reflection and teaching them more appropriate ways
Right.
to handle those difficult situations.
It's not about just shutting down the behavior, but it's teaching them some alternative coping mechanisms.
Exactly. And then we have functional behavior assessments, which are like detective work.
Okay.
So instead of just reacting to a behavior, we try to understand why it's happening.
I see.
So we observe the child, we gather information from teachers and parents, and we try to identify what are the triggers for their behavior.
Okay.
And once we understand the root cause, then we can develop really targeted interventions that address the underlying issue rather than just the surface level behavior.
So it's like peeling back the layers of an onion to get to the core
Exactly.
to the problem,
Yeah.
which allows for a much more nuanced and effective approach.
Absolutely. And this individualized approach is crucial because every child is different and their challenges are unique.
Right.
Right.
Individual interventions are clearly, playing a vital role here.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about broader initiatives at the school level.
Okay.
Are there any system-wide approaches that aim to create a more inclusive
Right.
and supportive environment for all students?
You're thinking about a more preventative approach.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine a school where everyone is on board
Yeah.
with creating a positive and supportive environment. That's the idea behind school-wide positive behavior support, or SWPBS.
So that sounds like a proactive approach, creating a culture of support
Yes.
rather than just reacting to problems as they arise.
Yeah. That's exactly it. SWPBS is about fostering a school climate where every student feels safe, respected, and supported regardless of their individual challenges.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Where it's at.
Collaboration.
Yes.
It seems like everybody needs to be on the same page.
Nice.
The families, the schools, the healthcare providers,
Yes.
all working together to support these kids.
Absolutely.
So what are your thoughts on that?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Collaboration is absolutely essential. It needs open communication, coordination of services, and a shared understanding of the child's needs.
Right.
It's about breaking down those silos and recognizing that we're all part of the same team, working towards the same goal, the well-being of the child.
I'm curious to hear some life examples
Oh, sure.
of how this collaborative approach has really made a difference.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories you can share that kind of illustrate the power of this teamwork?
Yeah, I do. I remember working with a child with sickle cell disease who was struggling socially. He was often withdrawn and anxious,
Right.
which is understandable given all the pain and the uncertainty that comes with this condition.
Right.
So we worked closely with his family, teachers, and doctor to create a really supportive system at school.
Okay.
His classmates were educated about sickle cell disease, and we implemented strategies to help him manage his pain and his anxiety.
So it was kind of a multi-pronged approach.
Exactly.
It wasn't just about his physical health, but also his social and emotional well-being.
Yes, we also focused on building his social skills and his confidence. And over time, we saw a remarkable transformation.
That's great.
He became more engaged in class, started making friends,
Wow.
and his overall well-being improved dramatically.
That's fantastic. And it really highlights how powerful this collaborative approach can be.
It is.
When everybody works together to create that supportive environment.
Absolutely.
But I imagine the specific challenges and interventions probably vary a lot, depending on the nature
Oh, for sure.
of the chronic illness.
Yeah.
Right.
You're absolutely right. Each illness comes with its own unique set of considerations.
Yeah.
And we're going to delve into those nuances in the next part of
well,
our deep dive.
Right. Sounds good. It's amazing to see how schools are stepping up, to support these kids.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, each illness brings its own set of challenges.
Right.
So what are some of the nuances we need to consider when we're tailoring these interventions to specific conditions?
Yeah, you're right. A one-size-fits-all approach just won't work.
Right.
Let's take asthma, for example.
Okay.
One of the most common sporadic illnesses affects children.
Yeah.
School absenteeism is a major concern.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because these kids might miss school due to flare-ups or to avoid triggers like dust or pollen.
Yeah, trying to keep up with your schoolwork while you're managing a condition that literally affects your breathing
Right.
can't be easy.
Exactly. And there's another layer to this.
Okay.
Some asthma medications, particularly corticosteroids, can have side effects that impact learning and behavior.
Right.
We're talking about things like mood swings,
Oh,
difficulty concentrating, or even memory problem.
so the medication itself could actually be a factor
It can.
in their academic struggles.
Yeah.
That adds a whole new dimension
It does.
to the support they need.
Absolutely. And in these cases, close communication with the child's doctor is crucial.
Yeah.
We need to be aware of their medication regimen, the potential side effects,
Right.
and any adjustments that might be needed.
Right.
It truly takes a team effort, involving the doctor, the school nurse,
Right.
the teachers, and of course the family to make sure that the child's getting the right support.
It highlights how interconnected all of these aspects are.
It is.
The child's health, their medication,
Right.
their academic performance,
Right.
their social life.
Yeah,
It's all intertwined.
it is. And that interconnectedness becomes even more evident when we consider illnesses like diabetes. For these children, managing blood sugar levels throughout the school day is critical.
Right.
It's not just about taking medication.
Right.
It's about constant monitoring, making adjustments to their food intake and physical activity, and being aware of the signs of low or high blood sugar.
That sounds like a lot of responsibility,
It is.
especially for younger children.
Yeah.
I imagine that can be quite disruptive to their routine
It can.
and create a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, that's why collaboration and planning are so important.
Right.
We work with the child, their family, and the school staff to create a plan that allows them to manage their diabetes safely and effectively throughout the day.
Well, right.
This might include things like designated places to check their blood sugar,
Right.
clear communication with teachers about potential symptoms,
Got it.
and access to snacks or adjustments to their lunch schedule.
It's about creating an environment where they feel supported
Yeah.
in managing their condition
Right.
and not singled out or burdened
Yeah.
by it.
Exactly. And then we have illnesses that directly impact the brain,
Okay.
like epilepsy, seizures. Those bursts of abnormal electrical activity in the brain
Right.
can manifest in many different ways.
Yeah.
Some children might experience convulsions,
Right.
while others might have more subtle symptoms, like staring spells or periods of confusion.
I imagine witnessing a seizure can be really frightening
It can.
for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Especially for the child experiencing it.
Yeah, it can be very distressing. And this fear can actually lead to social anxiety
Right.
and even reluctance to attend school.
Right.
So beyond managing the seizures themselves, which is obviously a medical priority,
Right.
we also need to address the social and emotional impact.
So things like educating classmates and teachers about epilepsy,
Yes.
creating a safe and understanding environment,
Right.
and providing the child with coping mechanisms
Absolutely.
for their anxiety.
Exactly. We want to dispel those myths and fears, foster empathy, and create a school community where the child feels safe and supported,
Yeah.
not judged or feared because of their condition.
Right. Similar principles apply to other neurological conditions like traumatic brain injury or TBI.
Yes.
TBI, which is caused by a blow or a jolt to the head,
Right.
can have such a wide range of effects.
It can.
Everything from physical challenges to cognitive and emotional difficulties.
That's right. The severity can vary greatly, and the effects can be really far-reaching.
Right.
For children returning to school after a TBI, the challenges can be immense.
Right.
They might need significant academic support to help them regain lost skills,
Right.
or develop new strategies to compensate for any cognitive deficits.
And we can't forget about the emotional and behavioral challenges
Right.
that might arise as a result of the injury.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to process,
It is.
both for the child and their family.
Yeah, this is where a well-rounded team of professionals, including neurologists, speech therapists, occupational therapists, and of course pediatric psychologists becomes so crucial.
Right.
It's a true testament to the power of teamwork
Yeah.
and a holistic approach to care.
It's clear that we need to go beyond simply addressing the immediate medical needs of these kids.
Yes.
We need to understand the long-term implications of these conditions and equip them with the skills to really navigate life beyond the classroom.
You've hit on a crucial point. It's not just about getting them through school.
Right.
It's about setting them up for success in life. And that requires a much broader perspective.
So let's kind of shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about those broader life skills that are really essential for anyone living with a chronic illness.
Okay.
What are some of the key areas we need to focus on to empower these kids for the long haul?
Sure.
So we've talked about, the importance of that holistic approach, right? Addressing not just the academic needs, but also the social and emotional well-being of these kids.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, it's not just about getting them through school. It's about equipping them for life beyond the classroom.
Exactly.
So what are some of those essential life skills that we need to focus on?
Well, think about it. These kids are often dealing with things that most adults would find challenging.
Right.
Like navigating a complex healthcare system.
Yeah.
Advocating for their needs.
Yeah.
Managing stress and uncertainty.
Yeah.
And these are life skills that can be so empowering.
Right.
Especially for someone living with a chronic illness.
Like we need to give them a toolkit,
Right.
not just for school, but for life.
Exactly.
So what are some of those key tools, that we need to put in this toolkit?
Well, self-advocacy is a big one.
Um,
They need to be able to effectively communicate their needs,
Right.
understand their rights, and speak up for themselves,
Yeah.
whether it's in a healthcare setting, a workplace,
Yeah.
or really any social situation.
That makes sense. But self-advocacy, that can be tough
Yeah.
for anyone,
It is.
let alone, a young person who might already feel different.
Right.
Or marginalized because of their illness.
Yeah.
So how do we help them, develop this skill?
Well, it's a process, and it takes practice.
Okay.
We can start by helping them understand their condition,
Okay.
teaching them how to articulate their needs in a clear and assertive way,
Yeah.
and providing opportunities to practice these skills
Yeah.
in safe and supportive environments.
Right.
We can role-play different scenarios, help them prepare for doctor's appointments,
Okay.
and guide them in advocating for accommodations at school or in other settings.
So it's about giving them the words
Yes,
and the confidence to speak up for themselves.
absolutely.
What about stress management?
Yeah,
I imagine that that's a huge factor
it is.
for anyone living with a chronic illness.
Yeah, chronic illness often comes with a lot of stress.
Right.
Managing symptoms,
Yeah.
dealing with all those medical appointments, facing uncertainty about the future.
Right.
It can be really overwhelming. So teaching them effective coping strategies is so important.
What are some of the strategies that you found to be, most effective?
Well, there are many different approaches, but some of the most helpful tools include relaxation techniques,
Okay.
like deep breathing exercises or progressive muscle relaxation, mindfulness exercises to help them stay present and grounded,
Okay.
and cognitive behavioral strategies to challenge those negative thoughts
Right.
and develop more adaptive ways of thinking.
Got it.
And of course, fostering a supportive social network is crucial.
Yeah.
So they have people they can turn to for emotional support.
Right. It's like we're not just treating the illness,
Yeah.
but we're equipping them to handle the emotional and psychological challenges
Exactly.
that come along with it.
Right.
And then there's healthcare navigation,
Yes.
which can be such a maze
There's a
for
catch
anyone,
or elaborate.
especially, young people.
Right.
They need to understand their insurance,
Right.
know how to schedule appointments,
Yeah.
coordinate care among different providers
Mm.
and just decipher all that medical jargon. It's
Simple.
like we're giving them a crash course
Yeah.
in Healthcare System 101.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
We want them to be informed and empowered
Yeah.
and able to make decisions about their own health with confidence.
So we've got self-advocacy,
Yes.
stress management,
Mm-hmm.
and healthcare navigation.
Right.
It's a pretty robust toolkit.
It is.
So how do we actually start building these skills in young people?
Well,
Are there any specific programs or resources that can help?
group programs
Okay.
designed for teens with chronic illnesses
Okay.
can be incredibly beneficial.
Yeah.
These programs provide a safe and supportive space
Mhm.
for them to connect with others
Right.
who understand their experiences,
Mm.
share coping strategies,
Mm.
and practice those self-advocacy skills.
So it's like peer support meets like life skills training.
Right.
That sounds really powerful.
It is, and these programs can be a lifeline not just for the teens themselves, but also for their families.
That's so important because families are often on this journey,
They are.
right alongside them,
Yeah,
facing their own challenges and anxieties.
absolutely. Providing families with education, resources, and emotional support
Yeah.
is another crucial piece of the puzzle.
Right.
We need to recognize that their well-being
Yeah.
is really intertwined with the child's.
Absolutely. So we've talked about empowering individuals,
Right.
supporting families.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture?
Hmm.
What role can society as a whole play in advocating for these kids?
Well, I think it starts with raising awareness.
Okay.
We need to educate the public about the challenges
Right.
faced by children with chronic illnesses, break down stereotypes,
Yeah.
and foster greater understanding and empathy.
Right. It's about making the invisible visible.
Exactly. And beyond awareness, we need to advocate for policies that truly support their needs.
Okay.
We need accessible healthcare. Right.
Affordable medications,
Hmm.
inclusive educational environments,
Yeah.
and workplaces that recognize and accommodate their needs.
It's about creating a society that really values inclusivity and accessibility
Yes.
and support for all individuals, regardless of their health status.
That's the goal. Supporting children with chronic illnesses is not just about charity or compassion.
Right.
It's about social justice
Yeah.
and creating a more equitable world for everyone.
This has been a really insightful journey
It is.
into the world of pediatric psychology in schools.
Yeah.
What is the one thought you want to leave our listener with today?
I think these children are incredibly resilient, and they deserve our unwavering support
Yeah.
by working together as individuals, families, communities, and as a society.
Right.
We can empower them to thrive not just within the school walls,
Mm.
but throughout their lives.
That's a really powerful message. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today.
Thanks for having me. We encourage you to continue exploring this fascinating field. There's so much more to learn and so much we can all do to make a difference.